I remember when Google Stadia was first unveiled and I said to myself, this is not a good idea. This doesn't seem like a good idea, even though on the surface level some people were excited for it. I was quickly called out in Google Stadia Reddits whenever I'd make a video about it because Reddit's a place that exists, and there was a Google Stadia Reddit. There was diehard fans of this service, and maybe they felt a sort of connection to it because they were getting in on the ground floor. I really don't know the justification for it. I think a psychiatrist should, interview some of these people and try to find like the root cause of why they latched to this so hardcore. But it was an interesting idea, and it was Google. And that's where the problem started to pop up, because Google is a company that's known to give up on stuff. By the way, they have given up on Google Stadia. It has officially been canceled as of January 2023, but we'll get into those updates in a bit. But I want to start to talk about the story leading up to it, what went wrong with this, and, just try to come to some sort of conclusion as far as the video game industry as a whole is concerned, because Google Stadia was supposed to turn the video game industry upside down. It's backed by Google. They got the monies to do something like this. It was a whole brand new thing where you could play full AAA quality games via the cloud, get a controller if you want to get a controller, and you didn't need any sort of box, you didn't need any sort of console to do it, and you were getting the latest and greatest games with high visual fidelity across these streaming platforms. Now, I'm not a huge fan of cloud streaming. I think companies like Xbox and Nintendo, as far as third-party companies are concerned with Nintendo, they like to dip their toe into it. xCloud is okay, not really for multiplayer games, I've noticed, but, for a single-player experience, xCloud is kind of all right. Nintendo Switch Online games, they're just a piece of shit, and they don't work, but whatever. But Google has the infrastructure. Google has the tools and the resources to make this work. So people got interested. They're like, oh, we don't need video game consoles anymore. We're going to have games for this. They started to develop first-party studios. They had Jade Raymond come in, who is heading up a first-party studio to make games exclusively for Google Stadia. Like, this was not a half-crocked idea coming to us from Google. This was actually something that was supposed to be the next leap for video games, and a lot of people got kind of worried about that. They thought that this was actually going to be the future. When you're talking about an all-digital future, one of the things that gets forgotten by people is you're giving companies the ability to control the prices of your games. You're giving companies the ability to set the prices, and then you can't do anything about it. You can't buy a used copy. You can't trade your copy of a game with a friend or trade it in towards another video game without having that physical media, even if that physical media is pointless, because many people say, oh, we still have to download the whole game. That's fine, I understand that, but the disc gives you access to download that whole game. So when you eliminate any sort of third party that can control the price of these things and put the price into the hands of the company wanting to maximize their profits, that's where problems start to lie. That's where problems really start to emerge with this whole business model. And people don't get it. People think, oh, well, they're going to charge less for these digital games because there's no box or manual or disc. It's like, you're an idiot if you absolutely think that. But I go back to what I said. Google Stadia was an interesting idea, and the technology that Google used for their cloud games worked well. I did not ever check out Google Stadia, even though they were like, hey, you want a free trial? I was like, nah, I'm good, bro. Like, I've got enough video games. I've got enough video game consoles. But everyone that I know that tried Google Stadia said that the actual things that we see, within these cloud streaming services, that, latency issues and input lag and stuff like that, they said it was very minimal. It was very enjoyable to play these games, and a lot of these games ran at good specs, good frame rates, good resolution and stuff like that. But the problem was they overpromised and underdelivered, which is something you cannot do within video games. You can't do it. The whole first-party studios, we're gonna have first-party studios make exclusive games from this. I don't know if they decided that like 5 minutes before the initial press conference for Google Stadia, but there was no game to show that was a first-party exclusive. There was no game to sort of showcase as you can only play this on Google Stadia. And there's a mindset of people that think exclusives don't matter, which is the stupidest mindset in the world, because clearly exclusives matter. Yeah, a Call of Duty might be the best-selling game on the PlayStation, but The Last of Us also is selling very well. Games like God of War and games like, look at a Nintendo system. What are the best-selling games? They're Nintendo games, because that's why people like to buy these systems. That's their entry point. I want to play God of War Ragnarok. I want to play, you know, Super Mario Odyssey or whatever it is. So those are the systems that they go to, and then they pick up third-party games based off that. But they came to the show dressed in a nice suit, but the suit had, you know, a little bit of a mustard stain on it because they didn't have any first-party games to show. But I think the biggest overpromise and underdeliver of Google Stadia was, think of all of the features that were supposed to be implemented into this. Think of all of the stuff that they showed and talked about that never came to fruition. You were supposed to be able to watch a YouTuber who was playing a game on Google Stadia, and then by clicking a button on that YouTuber's page, you could jump into that same game and play that same game, or play with that person via Google Stadia should they choose to want to do that. That never happened. That never came. And there were so many other things like that. There were so many other instances of Google overpromising stuff, overpromising features that never came to fruition. When Google Stadia launched, it was bare bones as hell. It could only run on certain platforms and only on certain cell phones and stuff like that. And it's like, you're cannibalizing your potential audience. You aren't xCloud. xCloud is an option for Xbox gamers. Should they not want to use xCloud, they want to play on a console, they want to play on a PC, they can do that. They're not reliant on this cloud service. But with Google Stadia, it's all based on the cloud. It was all based on the cloud. And like I said at the start of the video, Google Stadia did announce today that they will be shutting things down with this. They sent out a little press release that, of course, everyone has been picking up and everyone has been talking about. Phil Harrison, the vice president and general manager of Stadia, shout outs to Phil, great fall from grace here. Blah, 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 Google Stadia. We launched Stadia. It was built on strong technology. It hasn't gained the traction with users that we expected, so we made the difficult decision to begin winding down our Stadia streaming service. I wonder why, Phil. I wonder why. Maybe it's because you overpromised and you underdelivered out the ass. Maybe it's because all the games were overpriced comparative to what they were available on other things. Maybe because it was you had no first-party titles that made exclusives so that people had a reason to use Stadia over something else. This is not... I need to be a freaking video game analyst for these companies because I could make them some damn money. Players will continue to have access to their games library and play through January 18th, 2023. We expect to have the majority of refunds processed between mid-January of 2023. So any sort of hardware, any sort of game stuff is being refunded. And Google Stadia is refunding your purchases because they're shutting down the whole server. They're shutting down the ability to play these games. And, oh man, you know, part of me hates to see it because I like competition. I think competition forces companies to do things maybe outside of what they were intending to do. It makes them think about things outside of the box. You know, some of the best eras of, you know, entertainment have been through competition. I always go back to like pro wrestling. When pro wrestling companies have competition, the product gets better. When video game companies have competition, the products get better because companies take more risks. But this was such a stupid, uncalculated risk. And the fact that you've just given ammunition to everyone who hates the all digital age because they're all losing these games. You are refunding them. Hats off to you. Not literally. It's kind of cold down here. But hats off to you for refunding it. But do you think these other companies are going to refund your purchases? You think these other companies are going to refund you for buying their stuff because they're shutting down their servers, thus making these games unplayable in any way, shape, or form? No. No, they're not. No other company is going to do this. I think Google had to do this because of the short longevity of Stadia. But, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, we've literally seen the rise and the fall of cloud gaming with Google Stadia, and it fell to the earth so hard. It's crazy. It needs to be, and it's not going to be. It's unfortunate because I don't think video game companies are going to use this as a reality check. But I want you guys to go back and watch my older Google Stadia videos talking about the platform, reacting to the platform, because literally everything I said in those videos is 100% spot on, is 100% true. Google did not follow through with this, and Google's my overlord. Okay, they're the ones who pay me because of YouTube. So, you know, I'm taking a shot here at the boss, but I'm willing to take that shot because I always felt that Stadia, it's not the right time. It's not the right time. You still have rural areas of places that can't get high-speed internet in the United States, where I'm assuming most of your audience was going to be with this. it's not the right time. 5 to 10 years from now, Google Stadia might have made a bit more sense. But the fact that Google, they showed signs of abandoning it very early on by not implementing features that they promised, by, saying, oh, we got, major titles coming, exclusive games. And they're like, oh, wait, just kidding. Jade Raymond left and now we don't have any exclusive studios. So I guess that was the one exclusive game. It was a very poorly thought out decision. And Google, you should have reached out to me, because I could have made this work a little bit better. I could have made this a bit more feasible for the average gamer, but that's the problem. These focus groups, they're all suit and tie people. At the end of the day, these businesses are going to run the best way that they think that they can. And a lot of times, while it's profitable in the short term, the long-term game, it never really works out. Listen to consumers a little bit more. We're the ones that are paying your bills. We're the ones that are buying you those Ferraris and those mansions and shit. Like, R.I.P. Bozo. Piss off, Stadia. I never liked you to begin with.